You can't pass up a good try, mate. Right?
The porcelain for
No worries.
Or as well, if we wanted to do a question and answer, if we run out, if we have. Okay, thanks. Well, welcome everybody to our session, which is titled Unleash the Magic Within, the Role of Curiosity and Innocence. Now, I love this topic. I love it because this is how I live my life. I live my life through the eyes of a child. And when you do that, there's so much wonder and joy and just loveliness to the world. And I guess for me, it just means that I have it changes my attitude, my whole attitude. Just, I come with all the things that I do with the curiosity. And I guess from that, there's a little bit of innocence as well. But I wanted to just sort of talk about who I am. So I am Jenny Holloway. I am the CEO and founder of a coaching business, which is called the Foundation of You. And with that, I help women in their struggles, or if they're going through transitions, to help them break down walls, the walls that we all build up, and then, the walls that we build up to sort of, keep the world at bay when we've been hurt and that sort of thing. And I help them to build a new foundation. And so I think it's kind of a perfect fit, this talk, because when I was a little girl, and I'm one of 6 children, I have a mother who had a mother who was 43 years old when she had me, and I was a surprise. But what that gave her was this ability to have somebody to see, life through the eyes of a child again. She had a son who was 14, and then I was born. And we had this beautiful relationship, and I just, I cherish that. I sort of discovered things that maybe people of my generation mightn't have discovered by having an older parent. And we used to sit down on, down at the river or on a dock. We used to live on a lake, and we would sing songs from the 20s and 30s. And so my appreciation of things are sort of varied and different. So I've always had this outlook, or different outlook. And when I was 6 years old, my mother said to me, "Oh, Jenny, I love you exactly as you are. Please don't ever grow up." And I guess, for me, that really resonated with me at the time, because what do we think of when we think of somebody who is 6 years old? Anybody? Curious?
Carefree.
Carefree, yeah.
Not afraid to speak your mind, give themselves, express,
Yes.
explore,
Yes.
curious.
All of those qualities that I think create magic within us. We have that freedom to express ourselves. We have that curiosity about the things around us. And so when she said that to me, I took that, obviously not literally, because here I stand before you, just a little bit older than a 6-year-old. But I think what I took from it is always look at life through the eyes of, somebody, a child, that innocence and that curiosity of a child. Now, when we're children, we think and we talk in the language of magic, because we allow our imaginations to create, explore, and to wonder and to be curious about everything around us. And we ask why. Then we ask why again. And if you're a really curious kid, you keep asking why and why and why until your parents are like, okay, can you just stop? But I guess for me, we pretend to be whatever we want to be when we're children. We can be fairies, we can be astronauts, we can be, teachers, we can be designers. I remember I used to play teachers with my friends, and that was like the pinnacle for us in having an adult life. We were pretending we were adults, and it was just the most magical. We do sheets, we're homework sheets, and we test each other outside of school, because apparently we didn't have enough of school at the time. But we pretend to be whatever we want to be because we believe. And what do we believe? We believe that we can. And that, I think, is the difference of a child. When we look at life through the eyes of the innocent, there's only light and possibility and opportunity. There's no malice or ulterior motive or any power plays. It's pure, and every creature and every human has a purpose, but only for the knowing. Wonderful things happen and surprising things happen. And that's the magic that we're talking about. Some call it raising your vibrations, your ability to pick up on the surrounding energies, to have those experiences beyond what your rational mind kind of believes. And that's what magic is, right? Magic is the suspension of belief. You know, how does that rabbit disappear out of a hat? You know, I was once looking through a photo album with someone, and I didn't want them to see the pages where I was in this photo album. There were pictures of me, and I was in like my awkward stage of life, different physique. And it was funny because I shut the album like really hard. I shut it. And then when I opened the album, the page was gone. So I don't know. I have looked under the bed. I have looked for that page. So I don't know what happened, but you know, we can just leave our our skepticism at the door. Who knows? Who knows what happened? But you know what? It doesn't matter, because it's just, you know, it's looking at that magic within us. And through that curiosity can come connection. When we look outside of ourselves and we notice others, we're curious. What are they doing? We ask questions, we peel back the layers, we discover who people are. And I think that gives us answers. And then from those answers, we learn and we grow and we think about them in our own minds. And I think we stop telling people at some point in our lives what we really truly want. What do we really want? What are we really dreaming? And people stop asking us. You know, when you're little, you're always asked, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, you know, what are your dreams? But when we get to be our age, or, you know, an adult, people stop asking us what we want to be. And so it's up to us. There's nobody else who is kind of guiding us along, except it has to come from ourselves. And so, you know, obviously we're here and we're learning and we're interacting, and there's such a high level of love and connection here. And you know, everybody, we saw somebody in the elevator, and, you know, we start a conversation in the elevator, in the lift, where, you know, back in Sydney, everybody just stands there, everybody faces forward, nobody makes eye contact. And, you know, imagine we miss out on that connection with each other because we're so busy being cool, and we're so busy being right. And if we just allowed ourselves to reach into that part of ourselves, which is that innocence and that curiosity, then I think, you know, again, like I said, that's where the magic really happens. So I guess along the path of life, as I got older and I matured, I had the experiences of highs and lows like everybody else. But you know what? No matter what, I still retain that sense of fun, wonder, and excitement in everything I do. And you know, people say, oh, life is short, but it really, really is. And you know, I try and bring with everything I do, and if I can leave my mind and my doubts behind, with everything I do, I try and bring that sense of fun and adventure and laughter and joy. And notice what I'm doing. Those are attributes that children have. That sort of, you know, sense of this is it. They live in the moment. They live day to day. They don't think about the future. They think about the now. And so if you're looking to unleash that part of yourself, then I request, or I suggest that you tap into your inner child and bring out the joy that feeling felt like and will feel like when you do. So with that, I'm going to leave you, and I really thank you for your time and listening and us sharing this experience together. Thank you.
All right. Hello. Thank you for coming. I know it's always difficult, keep it. I don't want to come between your lunch and you and many people, but imagine it like food for thought, right? So today we are talking about curiosity and innocence, and previous speaker Jenny. She gave a very nice example. I can sum it up as the joyful exploration, right? So the joy of exploration that you find in your childhood days is something that you miss when you grow up. So I'm going to try and give you a sort of framework in which curiosity can become skill for all of you. So my name is Kunal. I am a quiz master by profession. I design quizzes and games of school kids, colleges, and corporates. So my business is curiosity, if I can put it that way. And I've always been a very curious child, and I used to ask so much of what, why, who, etc. During my childhood days, my mother used to get irritated quite a lot. So if you ask my parents, for them curiosity was not really a really good thing. Like, there's too many questions to handle. So they used to literally write me with books and say that whatever you're looking for, the answer is there, don't ask me, right? But I think our education system, doesn't really allow habit of questioning to grow. But if you fundamentally look at human progress, what has fueled human progress? In any field, so whether it's art, science, in any typical field, you will see that it was actually curiosity which drove human progress. It's the earnest desire to discover new ways of doing things, better ways of doing things, new ways of learning, finding new solutions to old problems, and that has primarily been at the core of curiosity. And there is something that we try to do these days. It's called the organization of curiosity. So we try to say that most companies they employ a large amount of people, but why are most of those companies not innovative? Why does innovation only come from smaller, agile startups, right? And why not in big companies? If you go back a few hundred years, you see that a company which held most amount of patents used to be IBM. They had like more than 10,000 patents. And most of the modern innovations that we use today came out of two different places. Xerox used to have this thing called PARC, which is PARC. It's like a sort of scientific collaboration and laboratory, where most of these innovations like computer mouse, printer, and all of those came from there, which everybody at that point of time when it was invented thought that it's most useless product, like nobody would probably use it. But they started using it at a mass level at a later point. Then there's another institute called CERN, CERN, which is another such scientific collaboration in Europe. And the smartphones that we use today, the touch screen was invented like in 1980s. They started using it. Stealth technology, that is more popularly used in defense nowadays, very common, has been long done back in those days in CERN. So why did they invent something that people don't want to use at that point of time? Because they started asking the question, what would we use 20 years after? What do the world need 20 years after? And this is what we call organizational curiosity. If you build a culture of curiosity within your organization, you ask your employees to find answers of tomorrow today, you'll be at a better position to propel your company's success and find new ways to market your product, find new products cycles. One of the best examples is the iPhone or iPad or iPod for that matter. When Jobs came back, so actually before iPod, let me give you another example which comes to me. So how many of you have heard of Toy Story? The animation film, right?
Yeah.
So it was made by Pixar. It was the first animated feature film ever to be made, and it was made by Pixar, which then Disney bought. Now, Jobs was one of the founders of Pixar. Now imagine what he did. So the story goes like this. He left Apple, started Next, which is another sort of software hardware company. And at Next, they had this coffee shop, like an open coffee area, where the two of these employees are drinking coffee, and then he comes and asks, who is the most influential people in the world? And they keep saying, Bill Gates, etc., etc. And obviously, somebody would say that, okay, he's saying Bill Gates in front of Jobs, that would be weird. But that's right. But he said, no, all of you are wrong. And somebody would say that, it's the US president. And he would basically say that, that's all wrong. You know who is the most influential people? The best storyteller in the world. And I'm going to make the best stories. I'm going to become the best storyteller in the world. And that's when he decided to start Pixar. So it was his curiosity to tell better story. How can we tell better story and become a brilliant storyteller? Fueled him to sort of start Pixar, which eventually become one of the best storytellers in the world. And today, as we know, the rest is all history, right? So there are multiple examples of such occasions, throughout sort of best possible ways to do curiosity. Another, how curiosity can help you. We all make mistakes, whether at a corporate level or at an individual level. Instead of looking at it as embarrassment, trigger curiosity. What the hell did I get wrong? How did I get this fact wrong? Or what went wrong? If you just keep asking questions around the mistake that you have made, you'll be able to figure out better ways of doing that thing next, and that basically solves it. Yes?
So I have a question. Sometimes when you are triggering these questions to you yourself,
Yes.
you get more and more confused because you're always thinking of how, why,
Yes.
and the how and why goes sometimes too deep.
But that's yeah.
It's like unleashing yourself because I'm trying to also intrigue a little deep into myself, trying to understand the purpose behind my work, and I want to go really deep to help out to others. And I'm just saying, every time we also try and dig within that curiosity, there are new things which come out. So, what do? You prioritize, or what do you do?
So, do we have, how much time do I have?
Sure.
Should I answer this?
No one has to bear it.
No, I know, but there's another speaker who has to speak.
So let's run to the bell.
So two things I can suggest is, number one is that obviously you have to prioritize. But beyond that, when you keep asking these questions, you tend to go deeper, and that's the way you find the answer. There is no easy way of sort of finding the answer.
Yeah.
You have to ask these questions one by one, and keep going down. I know. So there is this thing called rabbit hole, philosophy, which is very popular in sort of Alice in the Wonderland. But just to give you an example, so if you go to Wikipedia and you open up any page and you start clicking, you will move to one topic to another. So you can start with as bit as a sports star, and you can end up with a historian at some other page. So there is something called the grand central page of Wikipedia. So if you keep clicking enough, you will reach the page of psychology. So the idea is that you keep exploring, right? At some point you will be able to find the answer. But if you stop the exploration, then your journey is incomplete. So that's the only thing I can suggest. At least in my career, most of the time that has happened, right? So when so I'm an engineer by education, but look at what I'm doing now. So I'm basically asking questions for a living. But that purely came because I kept asking questions, and I eventually figured out this is something I'm good at. So let's keep doing that. So yeah, before I just wanted to leave you with the framework that I wanted to say is that at every step of your life, whether it is choosing a career decision, or when you're working in a company, whether to sort of propel you in the leadership position, curiosity is the most important trait of the 21st century. The reason is the change is happening, and happening at a very rapid rate. People who are curious, they're more agile and more sort of less likely to be overwhelmed by the change. Because when they're curious, they're already looking at multiple alternate options and solutions. So they're already sort of in that environment of change. Every now and then they change from one topic to another. So it's more likely for a company to succeed in the future if they build a culture of curiosity. So that is what I'm going to key takeaway from my speech, and then I'll hand over to Susie to take us through more curious and innocent journey. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Susie Dent. This would have to be Unleash the Magic Within, a really favourite topic of mine, because I work in an industry that unleashes the magic within all of us. I'm a film and television hair and makeup artist, and I work in the magic of film and TV. And we sit down and we watch films, and we get in for 2 hours. We're lost in this magical world that is created by all these creative people that tap into their curiosity and tap into stuff. To be a good artist, I have to be curious about how things work. I need to be curious about shapes and colours and how facial structures are, because I change people and I turn them into different characters. So I do pretty and ugly. I don't mean pretty and ugly people. I mean, I make people look pretty and I make them look ugly. When I was a little girl, so that's kind of my career, but when I was a little girl, there was a Disney film called Pollyanna, and it was my favourite film. And Pollyanna was this wondrous girl who was full of joy and full of curiosity about life. And when things went wrong in Pollyanna's world, she used to play the glad game. And she used to switch negative situations into positive situations. And she used her childlike innocence to do it, because she didn't realise that sometimes she was probably doing things the wrong way. But it still was I found her such a positive role model in my life when I was a young girl. And when I became an adult, I found that I used to play the glad game all the time. So when things went wrong in my life, I would switch back into that magic place, and I'd think about what made things better and what made things happier, which is basically showing gratitude for things. When we're children, we are curious, as both my speakers have said, but you know what? As human beings, if we stop being curious, then we're dead. We're curious about everything. I'm curious about India. I was curious to see what it was like to ride a tuk-tuk. And I did it, and I learnt. I'm not curious anymore. It was great. We're curious to find out what things taste and what different foods taste, what senses are like. I love looking at the clouds, and I don't just look at the clouds, I'm curious to see what the wind's doing, how far they're blowing, how big they're becoming. We are all curious, and we all look at life through curious eyes. And tapping into more curiosity as a business person is a fantastic thing to do, because sometimes people get bored and they don't realise that they've stopped being wondrous and tapping into who they were as children. As parents, as soon as we have children and we have little toddlers, we tap straight back into that innocence of our own childhood and into our curiosity, and that's what we want to engender in our children. I remember learning how to build train tracks. My boy, who was into Thomas, and I wasn't just going to build a straight line. No, I built a city, because I wanted him to be curious, and I wanted him to really play, and I wanted to teach him who he could be, so he could see eyes that weren't just narrow-minded, but saw everything through a very big, wide circle of things. And I think that's what we do as all parents and as people. We tend to train people to look at the bigger picture, to really tap into who they are, and to see things in a much more curious way. being in a magical industry like I am, and being surrounded by creative people. I work in a circus. It's not normal. I've been doing it for 35 years, so that makes me a bit out there as a person. But as a creative person, for my job, I don't actually have someone telling me what to do. I get a brief that says, here's a picture, create that. Like, right, okay. I had this one campaign that I absolutely loved that I did for 9 years. It was for the Leukemia Foundation. And what my job was I had to, they decided that to tap into everybody's curiosity to help them raise money, that I had to make upside down talking chin characters. What that meant is they got actors, and I had to build characters on their chins, and they turned them upside down. And I filled them upside down from here, just the chins. So I handmade wigs and wardrobe and faces, and every year I did it, I got more and more into how to make things and how to get better and better at my craft. And each year these characters got bigger and bigger, and they got to become iconic characters around Australia, raising millions of dollars for the Leukemia Foundation to raise money for blood cancer. The last year I did it, I taught myself how to be a puppeteer. They had morphed from just being tucked in pieces of material into green suits to huge characters with bodies and legs. I'm doing upside down because there were legs with you and arms, legs and arms, and puppeteers controlling things, and they even stuck them under the water. But that was me tapping into my curiosity about how things worked. And like I said, there wasn't anybody to tell me how to do it or how to make it. I had to figure it out. When we're curious about things, it helps us figure things out. We have to look at the bigger picture. We have to look at how things are actually made, how they work, how they turn, what the colours are. And when we do that, it makes us more stimulated, it makes our brains more stimulated. It taps into that left-hand side of your brain, the creative side, that takes you further and further out there into exploring who you are and all that sort of stuff. Another thing that I really like is the role of curiosity and innocence. For me, going back to Pollyanna and the Glad game, as an adult I discovered the power of the secret of the power of manifestation. And that's all around us now. We learn about tapping into things and manifesting things in our life. But to do that, you have to tap into who you were as a child and the make-believe games that we used to play, because that's how you make things happen and you manifest things. You go back into yourself and you tap into that innocence and you pretend things and you pretend that you want something. So when you want something in life, a classic example, there's a picture of me with a crown on. Right? So I won Mrs. Earth Australia, which is great, but I tapped into the child part of me and I visualised myself and imagined myself as queen with a crown. And I imagined myself walking on stage and not falling over. And I imagined myself really strong and really powerfully, and it happened and it worked, which was great. So if we tap into our childhood, tap into that innocence, it helps you be a better parent, it helps you be a more rounded person, it helps you look at the world with joy. When you're really looking at things from a much bigger picture and how things work and why things happen and why that sari is the most amazing shade of pink and how they got that material all washed in. I mean, I would love to know, I can't help myself, I'm a creative person.
Don't worry, you connect with me, I'll have one maiden sent.
Oh, look, sounds fantastic. I'm connected, babe. Look at that. Isn't that great?
And I know I ordered from the first day and got many orders.
Oh, I bet you did. You're a walking icon, darling. Absolutely wonderful. But see, that's me being curious. And I'm also quite fresh and out there.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I've loved walking around here, seeing so many nationalities. And I've just gone up to this room and gone, oh my God, you're like, yeah, it's fabulous. How do you do this? But that's just me. I'm a little bit, more forward than some can be. But if you're curious and not rude in your curiosity, and tap into your innocence of wonderment and wanting to know why, it does make you more joyous and it does give you the answers that you want. Don't be afraid to do it, because it'll fill your heart, it'll fill your soul, and it will help you really be, probably more comfortable with yourself. Keep stretching yourself with your curiosity to find out how, when and why, what and how, and it will help you. It will also help you if you have to raise elders. You can help them when they're older, because when people get older, they actually go backwards. When they get demented and stuff like that, and they go back to their childlike state. So you have to revert back to finding them again and helping pull them back. So in the many stages of our life, we have to tap into our curiosity and our innocence. And as long as we keep that with us and we don't get all stayed and all cynical, and we stay tapped into our joy, I think it's going to make life a much more fun ride. So thank you very much, everyone. If you have questions for the lovely people, please fire away.
Oh, go on, you have. You can
So
do
sorry
it.
we joined late, but the purpose was, even if it was 10-15 minutes, you must at least come because you were connected with the topic.
There you go, and I connected with you because I'm curious, so there you go.
Absolutely.
Pretty much. I very much learned that how curiosity can drive sales, and how curiosity can influence you to take better decisions. So through all these, and the fact that keep the child alive in you.
Absolutely.
No, I think that's so very
And,
important.
so that,
You're able
and,
to
and
live more.
also in Susie's comments, curiosity is a great stress reliever.
It's super.
So that way, I think those are some points that I got.
Fabulous.
I also think that you mentioned it as well. When you become cynical about things, you lose that sense of innocence because you see life through a different lens. So if you can, wipe that lens to be more, I guess, joyful and allowing you to discover and see that wonder. Because the world is just an amazing, wonderful place. But we just have to tap into that part of ourselves.
Yeah, another thing which over the period of journey in life I realized that we are not only cynical about life or situations, we are cynical about people and relationships also. So when you're always cynical, questioning why, thinking of consequences, your relationships tend to muddle up. If you just leave it and you are more joyful and curious and focused not on yourself but the others and their reactions, your life, your relationships, friendships, they become of a different dimension.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also what's happening is I think constantly here. Agreeing to what you just said and taking an extension from it, that we are also living in a society where we need to tell people that we know everything. And that's what is killing the curiosity. We do not want to say that I do not know. I did not know about this. The minute any new concept, even if it's the most routine concept that will come in front of us, we want to say that I know about it, and that's where the curiosity you have blocked it. You've actually killed it. And instead of that, if you can say that I only know this much, maybe I know, but just a surface level, but I'm willing to know more. Why don't you tell me more about it?
Absolutely.
Taking the same example, I didn't know about sarees, but then hey, tell me how about this? Is this
So even knowledge, like sometimes we become teachers or we are healers, or I'm a healer too, but then every time you meet somebody, you get an addition to knowledge, right?
That's right.
Because it's their
You're going to teach me
perspective.
about saris, aren't you?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like
You're not
curiosity.
for-
Hey, it's big tick here. Yeah.
So I mean, just commenting on that, something that I just remember. So Einstein very famously said that I do not have any special talent. I'm just passionately curious. So that more or less sums it up.
Well, then I relate to him. I'm exactly the same.
Because what you just said a while ago, in fact, I just posted it on Facebook also. My first learning for today is a curious person is always a comfortable person. Because that person is already thinking that what can be and what will be, and if it is like this, then what will happen, and so you're already there, putting yourself in that situation and different situations in your head. And if ever you're taken away from your comfort zone, you will not care much, because that also you will play along and you will experience the joyfulness of coming across something new and different. And I was just reflecting on it that there are some people in my life, we call them, in fact my partner, he's called the curious sorrow. And yeah, that's what his friends call him. And I just realized that he's, no matter where I put him, he'll always be comfortable. He is always comfortable, like nothing budges him or nothing bothers him ever. And it's a common trait that I've seen people.
And we all can't live life, every person's life. So the life experience teaches you everything, right? So what a beautiful way is to learn from a lived life. You know?
Absolutely.
You've lived those situations,
Yeah.
you've learned, and what you have learned through your experience, I cannot, even if I'm in the exact same position or shoes, my experience, my action, reaction. So I think the best learning is through people, which we are now not doing. We want only books and we only want academia, but I think connections and people teach you the most. You know, that one line said by somebody probably could change your entire life.
Absolutely.
I have a question
Yes,
for you. Some of my staff are very analytical, which serves me fine for what they do, but how do you get somebody who's highly analytical to be creatively curious? Is there any keys or formulas?
So, well, there is no set formula when it comes to curiosity because, so 3 years back I started my company. The whole, over the years, what we have tried to do is sort of teach curiosity as a skill because we believe that curiosity doesn't only belong to kids and it just not end in school or colleges. So most people, sort of tend to, when they go into work, they tend to imagine that the learning is over. Now sort of the implementation starts. And that is where all the sort of miscalculations happen. You must figure out in the ever-changing world, the lifelong learning is the only solution. And that can only happen if you're curious. Now, to answer your question, how do we sort of bring more creative curiosity in the analytical side of mind? So the right brain and the left brain is always this debate. So basically take the whole brain. I mean, that's the solution. So I would say that build teams and put those people with specific skill sets in a different role, completely uncertain in a different role within a team where they're not supposed to, their skill set doesn't allow them to probably perform that task, but you're putting them in a team where he gets to learn that from other people. So, and also give them the tool of curiosity. So tell them that, you know what, you already are good at this, but can you become good at it, good at the other thing? So so this whole fact of uncertainty, if you just tell them beforehand, if you put him in that position immediately and you just tell him that you have to do this, he'll be scared. Don't do that. Tell them that, you know what, talent is nothing in today's world. You are not made up of your talent. You are made up of the skill sets that you have developed over time. There's this thing we call it, the future of work is going to be gig economy. I'm not going to work for a single company, a single corporation. I'll do multiple gigs for multiple companies. And the gigs will be done because of my skill sets that I have. So if I don't have multiple skill sets, I'm sorry, you are not going to succeed in tomorrow's world. So please, be certain to keep adding more skills. And it could be anything. This broad thing of sort of marketing, IT, those are broad terms. Think about it on a very little scale, right? Most people can't write well, right? If you take a large corporate employee base, if you give them a topic to talk about or write about, they won't be able to do that very well. I mean, they're all good at what they do, but they can't structure their thought in that format. So give them, try to do those exercises within those teams and say that, hey, you know what, we are launching this product next month. So ask all of them to come up with marketing strategy, even if they're not from the marketing department, right? And you'll be surprised to see, the solutions that come up from all the other departments. And this exercise we do in multiple corporations around India and some outside Dubai and Singapore and other. And it's been quite successful actually. And most innovative solutions come from actually the people who don't have those specific skill sets on paper. And that's the surprising part of it. And yeah, that's pretty much true these days. In fact, just to give you another example, most people talk about artificial intelligence. So we do a lot of work in that space, artificial intelligence, machine learning. And most people think that only the digital technologists are the ones who will be able to solve those problems. Let me tell you, the jobs in the artificial intelligence segment will belong to people who have studied psychology.
Yes.
And that's the truth. you can program a machine, but you cannot teach empathy to it. That is going to come from a completely different set of people. So that's why these days it's said that liberal arts education, or the sort of interconnected education, for the lack of a better term, is what's needed even in corporate environment as well. So I'll be happy to share some of our previous work and findings. If that helps you in any way, I'm happy to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned about the gig economy. Actually, statistically in Australia, by next year, 43% of Australians will be part of the gig economy.
Yes, and in one of my previous plenaries a couple of days ago, I was basically mentioning that India is going to be the youngest country next year. So our average age is going to be 29. And the millennial workforce don't really understand this concept of 9-to-5 job. So,
work.
Any work.
Oops. I am one of
Sorry,
them.
I put that in there.
I'll be proud to defend it. But yeah, so, I mean, the definition of work itself is changing. And, the fact that if I can, so I can be a sort of doctor, by the morning, my shift finishes, and I become a bartender by night. It's reality. Please accept that it's a reality. It used to be a thing, before not many people used to do it, but now many more people are doing that every day. I mean, there is a photographer who is also a computer programmer.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the variety of experiences that people are now bringing to the table. And the fact that passionate people, they don't have just one passion.
What is the full form of gig?
No, it's just called gigs, as in the small jobs for which you get paid
Okay,
for.
all right.
So it's single
What's that
GIG.
Okay, that's gig.
Yeah, no such.
It's what I do.
It's
Yeah,
what I do.
no, I thought that
and each job I do, it's a different gig with each production company.
Yeah.
And the reason I've survived for 35 years, like you were saying, is because I multitask. I do makeup, hair, wardrobe, special effects, and props.
Oh.
And I can set design. That's how I can do 35
So it's
years.
not just millennials,
Makes me
but
very-
millennial at heart.
Yeah, thank you. I like that. Millennial at heart. That's me. I'll take that.
The funny thing is, I noticed is that I'm a Generation X, so I'm Gen X. Yeah, so
That's younger than us.
seeing the baby boomers sort of retiring, or they're sort of up on top, coming on board. They're the ones that stay in the jobs for 30, 40 years, right? And then we come in going, well, if I'm not happy, I'll tolerate the job to a certain point. You get to a certain point in your life and you go, you just suck it up, and then one day you just lose it and you go, that's it, I've had enough and I move on. But not as long as the baby boomer. And then you get millennials coming through going, I've been working in this job for 6 months and I need a promotion. And I'm doing really well, because they become confident and they start having this false sense of, I used to be a line manager, so I had to sort of sit there and manage their expectations. Because they expected a 6-figure salary straight out of uni. Very interesting about that.
No, also, curiosity actually propels a lot of confidence in people.
They think when they get
Because one of the common things that I've seen, I've attended a lot of youth conferences and conferences around the world, and when you put all of them in a single room, they start talking about various subjects, starting from politics to sustainable development goals, to any such social issues and things like that. To take part in the discussion, in any discussion, you have to know. Right? How do you know? If you're not curious about something, you would not know. Right?
That's right.
So knowledge only comes from curiosity, right? So if you can't take part in discussion, you can't collaborate with people. If you can't collaborate with people, you can't make change happen. That's simple as that. So that's why I think.
And probably we were taught to do just one thing properly all our lives, And then we are very lucky now that even at an older age, we can choose to do various things.
No, so I joke with my father all the time that those days are gone.
Yeah, 40 years you did one job seriously and you did it well, You were taught to do just one thing really well.
Dad, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
If all of you want to be more curious, there is a session at 5:45 that I'm doing. It's a quiz.
The curiosity quiz.
Please come, and there are small prizes to be won as well. Yes.
Oh, sitting on the chair.
The chair.